Hare Krishna. We continue reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is. We're on chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge, text 32. Evam bahu vidayagya vitata brahmano mukhe karma jan viditan sarvan evam gyatva vimokshyase. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. All these different types of sacrifice are approved by the Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated. So Krishna spoke of different types of sacrifices that a person does. Somebody sacrificing the material possessions to get higher, to go to the heavenly planet. Someone is sacrificing the sacrifice of knowledge to get liberation. And then what was that? Then through the yoga process to get the sacrifice through meditation to get mystic powers. And then, so there were different types of sacrifices that were mentioned. Now, different types of sacrifice, as discussed above, are mentioned in the Vedas to suit the different types of worker. So we have to try to understand that each person is an individual. And each of us, because we are individuals, we each have different types of desires, different inclinations. And so the Vedas provide solutions or different types of sacrifices based on each individual. It's like a variety. Choose what you want. So that's why it said to suit different types of worker. Not everyone will choose the same thing, you know. After all, each has its own individuality. So because men are so deeply absorbed in the bodily concept, these sacrifices are so arranged that one can work either with the body, with the mind, or with the intelligence. Now, why are these sacrifices arranged? Because in this material world, we, the conditioned souls, we have forgotten that we are the soul and we think we are the body. We act, we think, we speak, everything, and everything that in a way that we are the body, not as the soul. Because then if we did, we wouldn't, then we are liberated. No, we don't need to be here in the material world then. So because we are inside the body, then, and each of us want to, some want to work in a way to sacrifice the body or with the mind or the intelligence. So these Vedas are giving us like different choices, basically, of what we like to do. But all of them are recommended for what? All of them. The idea of the Vedas is not for us to continue to remain here in this material world, not for us to continue taking one body after another. All of them are recommended for ultimately bringing about liberation from the body. This is confirmed by the Lord herewith from his own mouth. So the Vedic instructions are there so that we can get liberation. And Krishna is confirming here in this verse. So 43, Shreyan Dravya Mayad Yagna Jnana Yagya Parantapa Sarvam Karma Khilam Partha Jnane Parishamapyate. O chastiser of the enemy, the sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than the mere sacrifice of material possessions. After all, O son of Pratha, all sacrifices of work culminate in transcendental knowledge. So Krishna was saying that the purpose of all sacrifices was to get liberation. So the purpose of all sacrifices is to arrive at the status of complete knowledge. Complete knowledge means what? The perfect spiritual knowledge. And then to gain release from material miseries. So what happens is, when we have complete knowledge, means there is no more ignorance. Means what is this complete knowledge? Means we are liberated. That I'm not the body, I'm the soul. We have understood it. As soon as we will understand it, this material world, the material miseries will not affect us because we do not identify with that anymore. So this is the point of liberation. The soul is now, the soul has realized, okay, I'm the soul, I'm not the body. Then what happens? As one continues ultimately to engage in loving, transcendental service to the Supreme Lord, Krishna consciousness. That's the reason it is said that pure devotional service starts from the point of liberation. That's where the beginning of pure devotional service. So if we want to engage in pure devotional service, we have to come to the point of liberation. And what does liberation mean? To understand perfectly that I am not this body, I'm a spirit soul. Aham Brahmasmi. Anando Maya Bhyasat. So once one comes to that point, it's only then that one will be able to gradually come to the point of Krishna consciousness, engage in loving transcendental service to the Supreme Lord. So then we have to understand that once we are already liberated, when we are engaging in transcendental loving service, it is a liberated platform. It's not a material platform. It's not a material platform. So nonetheless, there is a mystery about all these different activities of sacrifices, and one should know this mystery. Sacrifices sometimes take different forms according to the particular faith of the performer. When one's faith reaches the stage of transcendental knowledge, the performer of sacrifices should be considered more advanced than those who simply sacrifice material possessions without such knowledge. For without attainment of knowledge, sacrifices remain on the material platform and bestow no spiritual benefit. So what's happening is we may begin from the karma kand. So the sacrifice that is mentioned of the sacrifice of material possessions, that's like the karma kand. So that's the beginning of the yoga ladder, but the very beginning. Karma kand is not even the first step of the yoga ladder, actually. It is like, still on the material platform, but a person is performing sacrifices. Why? To get a higher position in the heavenly planets, go to Swargalok, get more enjoyment. But what happens? Because a person is doing these sacrifices, he gets a chance to associate with the persons who help him do these sacrifices. And then the person tell him, you know what, you're going to Swargalok, but that's still in the material world, What you're doing is still the material. It's all still material. You are the spirit soul. You need to cultivate spiritual knowledge to get out of this material world. So then he comes to the platform of knowledge, which is a much higher stage than karma kand. Then he comes to the point of Gyan Yoga, So real, and then as the yogi continues, as he continues sacrificing, the yoga ladder continues. So real knowledge culminates in Krishna consciousness, the highest stage of transcendental knowledge. So transcendental knowledge is that I am the spirit soul. I am not the body. So I am not the body, I'm spirit soul. That is transcendental knowledge. But we have to understand, as there are levels, so there is also a level of knowledge. Now, what's the highest perfection of knowledge? The highest stage of transcendental knowledge is Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness. Because real knowledge, when one actually comes to understand, I am the soul, I am not the body, then one will understand. When that is the liberated platform. To be situated on the platform of the soul is not easy. It's a liberated platform. And then one understands, oh, I'm the soul. So then I should engage in Krishna consciousness, not in material activities. So without the elevation of knowledge, sacrifices are simply material activities. When, however, they are elevated to the level of transcendental knowledge, all such activities enter onto the spiritual platform. So we'll just finish. So depending on differences in consciousness, sacrificial activities are sometimes called karma kand, fruitive activities, and sometimes jnana kand, knowledge in pursuit of truth. It is better when the end is knowledge. So of course, to try cultivating spiritual knowledge is much higher than just engaging in karma kand. Karma kand is still on the bodily platform, is still in the material platform, but trying to understand the transcendental knowledge, trying to understand the truth is much better. So we can see how the yoga ladder is progressing, that karma kand is still material, but gyan, it's coming already. It's liberation. Is that okay? Any questions, comments? If not, then we'll stop here for today. Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
So what it means is that the liberation, the Krishna consciousness is the topmost, right? What they're trying to explain here is.
So this yoga ladder, Krishna is explaining that the Vedas has the Karma Kand section, has the Gyan Kand section, then it has also the Yoga Kand, then it has the Upasana Kand. So how gradually the Vedas elevate gradually the consciousness of a soul, you know?
Okay.
So somebody who is doing Karma Kand is still on the material platform because they are just, their aspiration is just to go to the heavenly planet, but still it's in the material world. You're still going to take a material body. So he's saying higher than doing this karma kand, trying to do this materialistic activities, do this gyan, get this knowledge, this transcendental knowledge, because at least then that's the point of liberation. It's out of this material world. At least you'll understand you're not the body, you're the soul. Then here, again, it is said, now the knowledge. So coming to the point, that is already liberation. I'm not the body, I'm the soul. That is knowledge and that is liberation. Now, what's the perfection of this knowledge? What's the perfection? The highest stage of transcendental knowledge, highest stage of spiritual knowledge is Krishna consciousness. When we can revive, when the soul can revive its natural Krishna consciousness, that is the highest. So
and that will happen slowly, right? That will happen gradually, right?
Yes, it will happen gradually. And how will it happen?
By hearing and chanting. Like we just keep on hearing and chanting, and slowly everything will fall into place.
Yeah, because it is not an artificial state of mind. We have to understand that. It is not artificial. It is natural to every living entity. Every living entity is originally Krishna conscious. We just have to revive it. It's not that we are artificially putting anything anywhere. No, we are just reviving it. So knowledge is to understand I'm not this body, I'm the soul. And then once actually one comes to this position that one actually is able to realize this knowledge, yes, I'm not the body, I'm the soul, really situated on the platform of the soul. Then when we engage in devotional service, that is pure devotional service. That's why it said pure devotional service begins from the point of liberation. It begins from the liberated platform, where no material miseries can touch us then. So then we may ask, oh, but then what am I doing? What am I doing then by hearing and chanting? But we see we are still not yet on the platform of the soul, right? We are not yet reached that platform. So, but then how to do it? As we just said, continue hearing and chanting. It will come. It will come. The material attachments will go away. The false ego will go away. We will come to that point by just continuing to hear and chant.
So that means that we should have faith and just continue hearing and chanting. Everything will fall into place.
Everything, yes, everything will follow. Because if we see that, when we see the stages of devotional service, Shraddha, okay, then what happens? Bhajana Kriya. No, I'm sorry, Shraddha, then is Sadhu Sangha. So we have some faith, then we associate with devotee Sadhu Sangha. Then in Sadhu Sangha, what do we do? Bhajana Kriya. Bhajana Kriya, right? Means what? Hearing and chanting. And then worship the deity, remembering Krishna, different. So we do Bhajana Kriya. What happens with the Bhajana Kriya? Anartha Nivriti. What is Anartha Nivriti? Giving up all these material, unwanted material attachments, the Hridaya Granthi, as we read in Bhagavatam. So then we just continue hearing chanting, continue chanting, and we'll come to the point of Nishtha. That is the point of liberation. Nishtha is the point of liberation, where there is firm faith, steady faith. It's not on the material platform. That's the platform where the material miseries don't touch, don't affect, where the soul has realized now. It is a liberated platform where the soul has realized, okay, I'm not this body, I'm the spirit soul. And so what does the devotee do at that time? Does he stop hearing and chanting? No, he continues to hear and chant. He continues to hear and chant. And so then from that platform, his consciousness, he develops further and further. Then he gets taste for hearing and chanting. Then he gets attached to hearing and chanting. Then he gets emotions for Krishna. And then ultimately, love of Krishna is manifest in the heart. So all these Nishtha and beyond are all stages of liberation, very high stages. But it begins how? Just hear and chant. So hear and chant and everything will come. Everything will come. Just continue to hear and chant. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Shilpa Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.